In this video, we're going to take a look at major updates from Nik Collection, from Lightroom, and also from Gimp. But before that, this channel now has got a membership scheme. If you want to become a member, click on the join button, look at the different membership levels, and once you've decided which one you want, click on the join button to gain exclusive perks and also access to exclusive videos. A look at Nik Collection. What I want to do is to take a look at Lightroom. So inside of Lightroom, inside of the develop module, first of all, there's a feature, let me make sure I don't forget this. There's a new ability now to export using, inside of the performance tab, we've got a preferences, performance, and inside of the performance tab, you can now use GPU acceleration in order to export, and that will increase the speed of exports. Now, it's not always going to be ticked automatically. You might need to come here and make sure this is ticked to enable it. It's supposed to be ticked automatically for 8 gigabytes, graphics cards with 8 gigabytes or more, but on my PC it wasn't, so I have to go in and tick it to make sure it is ready for use with the graphics card. Now, there's a lot of graphics card usage inside of Lightroom nowadays, and it's useful to have a powerful graphics card. I actually have a video which demonstrates that, what we'll do is take a look at some of the other features that have been introduced. The first one is the really big feature, which is the presets fade. So we can actually fade presets now, which is something that I think people have been waiting for I don't know how long. There are a number of new presets. Now they're presets that they call, it keeps saying detecting down there, and I'll explain why, but essentially these new presets are designed for professional work, so they're pretty high quality, but they've introduced presets for masking. Now you might know that you already have got presets for masking inside of Lightroom. These were added quite recently. Not presets for Lightroom, for masking. AI masking, AI enhanced masking inside of Lightroom. You can select the sky, you can select subject. So this is one which selects the subject and allows me select that one. And you can see that we've got some edits there already. So we can, now this is something I applied in a different edit. We now have the ability to store masking options inside the presets as well as to fade the presets. So we will probably demonstrate that all at once. Let me click away. There's also an option to invert. So if I have a subject selected, I can easily invert by clicking here. If I have the sky selected, I can easily invert by clicking here. So that's something which is big for people who do masking. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fade ability. And what we'll do is take a look at some of these bad boys here. We've got strong curve. Let's apply this guy here. It's a bit strong. We can now fade the effect, and it should fade down to 0. And you can go above 100 as well. So this is something people have been waiting for a really long time. It won't be available for all presets. So basically the new presets slider will work with some presets but not others. There's a new feature which allows us, as I explained, to actually set the masking option as a preset. So let me see if I can find, we've got adaptive sky here. So this, so you can see it's a preset. It's one of the new presets inside of Lightroom. As you can see there, it's actually selecting the sky. Nothing else is being adjusted. It's just the sky. And we can save this adaptive sky selection using artificial intelligence as a preset inside of Lightroom. So let's go for blue drama. This is one of the ones that you can actually apply a fade to. So the fade option is a big option It's one a lot of people have been waiting for, and it's going to kill a lot of plugins. It's going to kill at least one plugin, I think, because I think there's a plugin especially for this. But you can copy it and paste it to other subjects. So this is part of an HDR set. 3 images, all the same, HDR. You can copy and paste, including the adaptive masking options here. You also have an adaptive masking. Let me apply this blue drama here, and let's just give it a little bit of a punch so that we can really see it. We also have these adaptive subject, so we can basically store the command to apply a mask, and then you can see there, like clown, glow, vibrant. Let's go with vibrant. Let's go ahead and fade that one. So I've just applied 2 presets, both of them with masks, and we could go ahead and copy and paste these presets, these settings onto another object, into another photograph. As I say, there are 3 of these photographs for the highlights, the shadows, and the mid exposure. So we could apply, do a straightforward copy and paste. So that's a pretty important new feature inside of Lightroom. Now there are a number of other improvements to the software, but I wanted to cover those big ones. Another thing that we can take a look at is hopefully the plugins. So if I right click, you can see we've got Analog Efex Pro, Color Efex Pro 5. We've got Define 2, Perspective Effects, Raw Sharpener, Pre-Sharpener, Output Sharpener, Silver Efex Pro, and Viveza. So these are the DxO collection, the Nik collection, and you can access them using this command here, edit in, and we can go into one of these. So let's try something that would be sensible here. Let's try Color Efex Pro 5. It asked me, do I want to edit with Lightroom adjustments? Of course I do. Let's choose edit. Sometimes you might want to edit the raw file. Here we are inside of Color Efex Pro 5. Now, before we talk about the plugin, let's take a look at the installation. The installation file comes as its own standalone file. You use this to install all the plugins for Photoshop and for Lightroom. Now, on some systems, you may need to actually go in and tell the plugin where your installation of Lightroom and Photoshop is. And if you have a system like my system where you have multiple versions of Photoshop and multiple versions of Lightroom on the same system, you might just need to dive in and identify the individual files that run Photoshop and Lightroom and make sure that they are registered with the plugin. Now, when you get to the end of the installation, you may get an option to install Photo Labs, and I think with the current offer, you actually get it for the same price as the Nik collection. So I think it's a pretty good bargain. I'll have a link to that in the description for when you finish watching the video. Now, they've added a number of new features which include grain. So we can add grain to an image. Let me go to 1:1. Just holding down the space bar to move the image. This is a very high DPI monitor, so that's going to be a difficult one to see. But they've got different they designed these to really try to mimic the kind of grain you get with different cameras, and hopefully with the first one, this one here, Agfa Ultra Color, you can see how deep and rich that grain is. Now they've designed it so that it actually looks like an actual camera, and this is something which obviously is quite popular with enthusiasts, and they've got quite a lot of different presets there. Let's choose this one. We can play around with the intensity. Now I have another video showing you different ways of adding grain inside of an image in Photoshop, and these plugins will work inside of Photoshop. Now what I found with different plugins is that they have very different ways of introducing grain into an image, and you might want to try one, you might want to try another one. This one, they've got a reputation for creating fairly realistic photographic effects inside of Nik software. Let's just choose this one. So that's one feature which has been added. Another feature is the clear view, and clear view is supposed to allow us to just get a bit of intensity in terms of the dehazing. It's kind of one which you can use it for removing fog from an image, just bringing out some of the detail, some of the color and contrast that's inside of the image, but it doesn't go too far. It's great for hazy pictures where you want to remove some of the haze. On this image here, it has the effect of just making the image a lot more punchy. So we can save this as a preset, and let me hit save. And of course, we've got the famous control point technology. Now we've got a couple of presets here, and we can go ahead, hit apply, and it takes us back into Lightroom. What an amazingly punchy image there. So that's something that's going to work inside of Photoshop as well. So here we are inside of Photoshop. Let's go ahead and choose File. Let's go to Automate, and inside of Automate, we've got Nik Selective Tool 2, and opening this up brings us this tool which gives us the same plugins as inside of Lightroom. We also have this option now for meta presets, and these meta presets allow us to apply presets from different plugins at the same time. Let's go ahead and open up something that we opened up before. Let's go to Efex Pro 5. And here we are inside of Efex Pro 5. You can see we've got the image here. No effects applied so far. Let's go ahead and bring up the presets that we created a bit earlier inside of Lightroom. And you can see here that we've got some presets that I created before. So these are from quite a long while ago. It's managed to import these into the current version. So I've got quite a few here. Might have a little bit of difficulty. Oh, these are the ones, these are the new ones. So these are the new ones that we created. This is the one that we created. It looks brilliant. This is the one that we created inside of Lightroom. You can see the clear view giving us that punch of clarity, and we've got the grain being applied there. So you can see the presets carry over to Photoshop, and like I say, my old presets, they're still here if I wanted to use those ones. We also have a feature which is called the control points. So if we come down here to the let's see, okay, let's open up the filters, and inside of the filters, let's open up, let's see, let's choose high key. Now that adds a really brilliant effect inside of the image. If we choose control points, we can add a control point. Let's add one here, and that's another one. Let me just undo that one. Selecting the control point allows us to increase the size of the effect. We can also change the masking by moving the effect so that we bring it here into the clouds. You can create quite an ethereal effect there. Oops, gotta be careful. And we can expand it, we can bring it down, and it's automatically masking. So if we go to a darker area, it will mask into these darker areas. If we bring it into the brighter area, it creates this kind of glow effect. So the control points are really what makes this really special. we now have the ability to apply luminance, and we also have the ability to work with chrominance as well. So we can select by these two as well. It's quite a significant improvement in the software. I really like this clarity, this clear view. And it shows the Nik Collection continues to advance, and it's nice to see DxO continuing this, because I think it's a nice one. I think it's a nice plugin. Let's hit apply. Now you can, we actually have the original image, we've got the edited one. So you've got the new features, just some of which I've showed you there, and we've got the meta presets. Maybe we can try one of the meta presets on this image here. This is already a very nice image. Let's go ahead and let's try sprezzatura. So that was not very painful. It applies the effect very, very quickly. I think this might be one that you want to apply on a smart object, because it will actually just zoom. It won't create a copy. It just applies it straight onto the layer. But you can see how quick that was. Now, let's move on to the final feature, or the final new update, a big one. We're going to move on to Gimp 2.10.32. Now, I've already covered one feature inside of Gimp 2.10.32 in another video. This one I'm going to focus on CMYK. So it's now possible to have half of a CMYK workflow inside of Gimp. Let me show you. We've got this image here inside of Photoshop. It's a CMYK image. Now, traditionally, we can edit these in CMYK inside of Photoshop, but we cannot edit this inside of CMYK inside of Gimp. We still can't, but we have an update which allows us to open. I saved this twice as a PSD document and also as a TIFF file. Inside of Gimp, we should be able to open up the PSD document, and Gimp is obviously RGB, but it's opening up right now a CMYK document, and it should actually correctly identify that it's a CMYK file. It takes a bit of time, but it should open up the image, and it should appear with the correct colors. Now, we've had problems with incorrect colors before, and in previous versions of Gimp, I think it would have looked, the colors would have been off. Let's convert. The colors would have been off. They would have seemed a little bit funky. This is a screen cap that I did in a previous version of Gimp. You can see the colors are all wrong, but with a new version of Gimp, with the new 2.10.32, it seems to correctly convert from a very wide gamut CMYK color profile to RGB. We're in RGB inside of Gimp. It's opened up as a 32-bit image. Now, I saved this also as a TIFF file, so let's go ahead and open up the TIFF format. And the first one was a PSD format. This one is going to be a TIFF format. They should, again, open up with the correct colors, and boom. There we are. We've got the file open up, CMYK. Editing this as an RGB. We still don't have CMYK inside of Gimp, but we have got the ability to open up CMYK images. I think this was an 8-bit one, and I also saved one as a 32-bit, no, as a 16-bit CMYK file in TIFF file format. Let's see what happens with that one. And it will take a couple of seconds to open up, but once again, we should see accurate colors. There we are. This one has come in as a 16-bit file. So quite a lot of capabilities have been added to this new Gimp. There are quite a lot of other features that have been added, which I won't have time to cover inside of this video, but you cannot export this as a CMYK document. That's something which is still in the works. So this is part of the, I think, Google Summer of Code. I think they actually managed to get a seat on the Google Summer of Code project, and I think they're adding these sort of CMYK improvements. We can go ahead and improve the image inside of CMYK, and you can, you know, have a bit of a decent workflow inside of GIMP 2.10.32. Another feature which they updated, which I thought was quite significant, was the screenshot. And with this one, they added the ability to include a mouse pointer. So in the past, you could just take a screenshot of a window or whatever. That's how I got the other image. You couldn't take the mouse pointer. So if I wanted to get a mouse pointer alongside the screenshot, I now have the option to do that. And I think some people find that useful. Guys, that is it. 3 big updates to 3 different pieces of software. Like I said, I discussed some of the other features of GIMP in another video, but we're going to leave that there, and hopefully you find some of that useful. I'll see you in the next video.